All right, guys, welcome to Inside the Sale. We are sitting here in the Orlando corporate office. We got a special guest with us here today. We got Mr. Dean Pavlik. So what we want to do today, guys, is I couldn't think of anybody else better to have Hall of Fame producer Dean, right, come in and talk about some inside the sale, right? Just some sales stuff,
Yeah,
kind of help you guys get going. So we'll kind of just jump right into it. What did you sell last year? It was like what was it?
428 and some change.
428 and some change. So that's 428,000, which if you guys aren't aware, puts you in the Hall of Fame, 400,000 a year, but that's personal sales. That's not team. That's all you.
No, just myself. Yep.
So if you do the math, that's roughly $39,000 a month on average, whenever you average it out. So what I want to do is I'm going to kind of get out of the way, just kind of ask you a couple questions, but we really try to keep this about in the home. What does this look like? What do you say to this client? How do you handle these objections, things like that? But before we get rolling, just to kind of give everybody a good idea, obviously I know you work a mix of leads. You work the mortgage protection, the CRM, the final expense. What does your weekly lead flow look like? Because you run about, 30 appointments a week?
So I'll be very transparent. I run about 20 to 25.
Okay.
I used to do 30, but because I'm also growing the business, I'm more focused on behind the scenes.
Sure.
With, training agents and stuff like that. So about 20, 25.
Got it.
And my lead flow now is basically, I do about 90% mortgage.
Okay.
I used to do a lot of final expense, internet leads and so forth, but primarily I do mortgage because when I started, I was introduced to the mortgage protection right out of the gate because we didn't have the instant internet leads. We didn't have final expense. We didn't have certain leads to be, available to us. So I started doing mortgage protection. So I was grandfathered into that scenario right away. And I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to lock out some counties. So I have counties locked out that strictly come to me, and I get a lot of them throughout the week. Usually get about 20 to 30 a week from that. And I also fill in gaps with instant internet leads. I haven't done final expense in a little while, but I still do final expense when I can. And then I just rerun the previous batches into the mix. So I'm always on leads. I just obviously run the most recent ones first and then dip into the other ones that are, a week or two behind as a filling gap to see what gaps I can fill in my schedule.
Got it. Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. We're here, in our agency and just all across the board with FFL is, these podcasts are great. Inside the Sales, great.
Absolutely.
But talking about what you're just talking about is probably the most important part. We're going to talk about this whole podcast because it doesn't matter how good you are in the home. If I run 3 appointments and I close every single one and you run 30 and you only close 20%, you're still going to close more than me. So, keep in mind, it doesn't matter how good you are. If you don't have enough leads, enough appointments, it doesn't matter.
100%.
But we do these podcasts just so we can get people better in the home, things like that. So mainly running mortgage, right? What does that look like for you, right? So you get to the client's house, how do you kind of start off?
So I keep myself simple. I try to build rapport as I'm greeting them and walking into the door. The less time wasted, the better.
Got it.
Because I'm there to do business. They know I'm there for business. I'm not here to make friends or, invite them to a barbecue, anything like that. So first thing when they open the door, I say, hey, Joe. Yeah. Hey, Dean, we had an appointment today about your mortgage protection. Shoes on or off? Most of them say keep them on. Perfect. Now, with everything going on in today's world, I always ask mask on or mask off. Do you prefer me wearing one or not? It's about your safety more so than mine. And most of them, will tell you you don't have to. Others will ask you to put it on. I have no problem, doing that. I want to make sure that they're comfortable. And I ask them, should we sit at a couch, table? What's comfortable for you? Most agents want to point directly to the table. Sometimes I've been in houses, their tables are covered with stuff. You can't sit at a table. Heck, I've sat on the floor and I've written insurance policies. I want them to be comfortable. I don't care. It's not about me. It's about them. And then I let them tell me a story. Ask them, Joe, Mary, looks like Mary, you filled this request out. You guys recently purchased a mortgage. You fill this request out. Can you tell me a little bit about that? What inspired you to fill this form out? Why was this important to you? And who are you looking to protect? And then I just shut up at that point. I'm listening to them. I'm taking mental notes, and I'm listening to what they're telling me. And oftentimes they say, well, we just got this house. We were looking for, make sure that, we can afford to stay in here if something happens to us. We were looking at options. We want to see what you have to offer, whatever. Perfect. So the way these plans and programs work, number one, you don't have to have a nurse come out here. That's why they send me. We want to make sure that you're in good, healthy standpoint, that you can qualify for something without having to go through that scenario. Oftentimes, going through that scenario can take weeks to get the coverage. And sometimes during that waiting period, a death happens and you still haven't gotten approved. And it's not fair to put you in a situation like that. Wouldn't you agree? Yes. Second step is I'm going to spend a few minutes asking you about your financials, because I need to evaluate what losses they're going to be if one of you dies. And then I'm going to ask you some basic medical questions to see where I can fit you the best in. What I do is I simply underwrite. I'm not a sales agent. If I was a sales agent, you probably would have picked me up by the neck and threw me out of your house right now. I crack a little bit of a joke with them, ease his attention, and I let them know the process.
And this is 5 minutes in the house.
This is first 3 to 5 minutes in the house. And then I'm going to, ask you about your mortgage, what that looks like, and so forth. And then what we're going to do is find a solution that's affordable, fits within your budget, and you qualify for it. Does that make sense? Shall we proceed? I learned that line from Eric Schmidt's videos. He's great at setting the tone. You want to ask, basically, setting the tone. You trial closing them along the way.
Right.
And say, hey, this is what we're doing, A, B, and C. Shall we proceed? The moment they say yes, you in.
Right.
Now you're pulling out the inventory sheet, client worksheet.
Right.
You don't do anything else. You're just talking about the lead that they filled out. And then you fill out the client worksheet.
I think that's important because, and again, I get it. New agents, it's nerve-wracking. You're going in and you're doing something you've never done before. But at the end of the day, we have to remember these people filled out a freaking request in the mail.
Yes.
I didn't fill out a lead. Were you a lead?
No.
I didn't fill out a lead. You didn't. So we think different. And a lot of times agents are like, well, you say that? I'm like, yeah. And they're like you can't think the way. So, in Killamat and shit, like everyone says it's so great. It's like they wanted it till you got there if you messed it up, And so I love how assumptive that is, because at the end of the day, they filled out a piece of paper and said, hey, I want mortgage protection, or I want expense. So it's like, we're going to do this. We're going to do it. Yep. We're going to do this. Yep. We're going to do this. And it's like, if they haven't, okay, well, let's figure out where we're at. But Bob, again, you fill this out. Like, I'm here.
Yeah.
So I love it. That's something.
One of the ways you can overcome that too is if you start getting a little bit of pushback, I just, I put my pen down. If I had glasses, I'd probably tip them down my nose and look at them a little weird, which I'm getting older, so I probably need some. But I would say, Joe, Mary, can I be honest with you? You invited a sales insurance agent into your house today to talk about getting life insurance for your family. What do you need to think about? And see what they say.
Yeah.
I'm not here to sell you. I'm here to make sure that if, God forbid, Joe, you die tomorrow, Mary, I'll be the person responsible to bringing that check to you. That's my job. My job is to make sure that I solidify a relationship with you and your family, to make sure that you guys don't have to deal with the paperwork behind the scenes, make your transitions easier, and most importantly, that you can stay in this house, because grieving process takes time.
And it's like, that's a very simple thing to say, but it does take some courage to say it.
It does.
And a lot of, if people would just say things like that in the home, it's like, I love the way Brian Mendenhall does it. It's the bloody dry. Like, he still gives me chills when he does it. I'm like, oh man.
Every time.
You know what I mean? It's like, I want to buy a policy from him whenever he does it. And it just, the point he makes, he's like, if everybody would just do that, and it's true.
Yeah.
And so, no, I love that. Let me ask you a question, just because I know as a new agent, I would think this. When they go, right, when you say, hey, what inspired you to fill this out? Oh, we just wanted to get some information. We're not going to do anything today. How do you handle that being a couple minutes in the home?
So what type of information are you looking for?
Gotcha. So
are you looking for numbers, or are you looking for actual coverage that's going to make financial sense to you and your family?
Love it. Put it back on them.
Exactly. It's just,
and if they say we just want numbers, you're like, okay, all right, well, I'm not a numbers guy.
I just tell them, okay, if that's what you're looking for, I can send Brett from down the road. He's going to spend 4 hours in your house today going through 20 different carriers because that's what I have. Numbers are useless because they're not yours.
Yeah.
Quotes are useless because they're not yours. A quote is just an opportunity to see where you'd fit in. Once we solidify a quote, a number that works for your budget, it's yours. Wouldn't you agree? Absolutely. So I can spend time and say, okay, here, Bob, $500 a month, take it or leave it.
Right.
And guess what? You're going to hate me for the rest of your life. Or I can say, Bob, if you die tomorrow, I'm going to make sure that Mary can stay for at least 3 years in this house. That's going to make financial sense to her so that she doesn't have to foreclose it and fire sell it really, really quickly. So she can figure out where she wants to go. And by the way, it's going to be a lot more affordable than a $500 payment.
Love it.
So why don't we do this the right way? Allow me to help you.
Right.
If you don't want my help, I'm not going to be offended. I'll leave right now, but I'm here to help you throughout your process. I'm not here to sell you.
And there's nothing wrong. Like, you know, it's like a lot of they're like, I'm like, yeah, that's not rude. That's not, it's like, hey, this is, you know, that way you're not wasting time. Because I think a lot of agents, which goes back to booking enough appointments, is they're scared to lose the sale. They're scared. I'm like, dude, you don't have a sale. Like, if you're in there and they're like, I'm not giving you which you're not going to get that a lot. Like, again, they filled a freaking form out.
Exactly.
Know? But, you know, don't be scared to go on to the next client. Because if you're sitting there, you know, diddly down around wasting time with that client, it's like, get up and go to the next one.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think so many people are worried about, what if it's like, go to the next one.
Yeah. A funny thing about insurance sales in general, 25% of your clients, when you walk in, they already have a check staple on their forehead. They just want you to peel it off and write down a number. And it's so accurate. 25 additional percent is the ones you got to work with a little bit.
Yep.
Then there's the other 25% that are going to be giving you a lot of pushback. Those may be follow-ups like annuities and stuff like that. And then you have the complete other 25, it's like whatever.
They'll just never buy from
They'll never buy from it, and it's okay.
Yeah.
And I had a lady just this past weekend, you know, I had a great first appointment. Guy was literally, the first 25% had a check on it said, I just had to figure out what he could afford. Took a $226 per month payment on an HMS plan, wanted to leave his fiance 50% mortgage protection to buy her time. And he goes, I like that plan. Great. I went to my second one. She started giving me pushback immediately, and there's nothing I could do for her. We went through all the scenarios, and she was like, I'm really sorry. And, you know, you didn't get anything. I was like, ma'am, please never apologize. I have hundreds of people to see. I'm not offended. I'm not going to starve if you don't buy a policy today.
Right.
I have plenty of people that need help. I'm grateful that we had to sit down. I will still leave you my business cards. If anything you need, refer me, whatever. Some agents don't leave business cards. I don't hold a grudge against that. It is what it is. I'm done. We spent 10, 15 minutes. I was in and out. I went to my next one. You have to learn to get emotions out of this, but you also have to learn to be direct.
Yeah.
Jared, why did you fill this out? Nobody just says, oh, I'm just going to buy life insurance today.
Right.
Who says that?
What happened? It's like, and that, I think that's the biggest thing is once you kind of really start to understand, and that's why we preach 100 appointments, get your 100 sits. Because people are like, oh, product. I'm like, dude, product doesn't matter if you don't book appointments and go sit with them. Like, I don't care how much you know about product, but it's like, you're going to learn the product anyway by going through the sits, you know? And I think a lot of the times, once you get to your first 100 sits, like, you're going to get punched in the mouth. You're going to get kicked. You're going to see that stuff, but you're going to make some sales.
Everything.
You're going to figure it out. And what's cool though is there's really, like, when you think about it, there's probably like 4, 5 general scenarios you're going to see out in the field. Sick, you know, someone that just got a mortgage and they want to cover the full thing, but you sell them payment protection. You know, someone that might need a policy replace. You know, it's just like there's only so many scenarios.
There's many different scenarios in the field. You know, it just depends, but majority of them are around the same.
Correct.
You know, very rarely you get that one unique scenario in 1 in 100 that you have to really figure things out. But generally, you can also ask them. You know, most of my clients, Jared, it's one of 3 things they realized. 1, they don't have any protection at all. And they've realized it's now time to get some because now they have assets to protect and they don't want the family to lose it. 2, they have some and they realize it's not enough. Fun fact, Jared, only 46% of American households realize that they don't have enough protection. Start throwing numbers at them. And number 3, You have something and it's way too expensive and you're not happy with the person that set it up with you. Which one are you?
They have to be one of those three.
You have to be one of those three.
Yeah.
There's no other way. Fun fact, I had a client not long ago. I went to him. He was already like pushing me back on the phone, but I was solidified the appointment. I sit with him. I go to his attorney office where he works at. He goes, I'm 70 years of age, 71, pretty healthy. He goes, I have a term that I'm paying $19,000 a year for. I was like, come again? My jaw literally dropped. And he insisted, I don't want anything else. I just want a 10-year traditional term. I went in, quoted him a term life answer with Mutual of Omaha, $6,500 a year. He goes, I'll take it. I was like, you have to do A, B, and C, full pyramid, blood, urine. Are you okay with that? He goes, I am. So we're still working on the underwriting process. Right. But
which, be clear, that's obviously what we don't focus on. But
we don't focus on
area you had.
That's one area that he really he understood what insurance was, what it's all about. He goes, I just need a 10-year plan. I don't need anything longer because I'm paying my house off within 10 years.
Right.
I don't need anything more. And he was 70.
Right.
Generally, terms for that age are very pricey as it is. Right. But that was one case. If he wanted to get like a basic 20, 25-year plan, I would have gone to an HMS plan that would make a lot more sense. So understanding the concept of their age and their medical and having, your mentor available to call from the table is huge. Don't worry about the products as much. We'll help you with the products along the way. We need to know the medical status.
How did you learn the products? Just curious.
I called from the table over and over and over. And then on my free time, I wanted to learn the business as much as I could in the beginning.
Yep.
I listened to tons of videos on my way to appointments.
Right.
I remember my very first appointment, I would listen to the Matt Smith in-home presentation like 15 times before I got to the client's house because I was so nervous. I was like, I'm going to screw this up. But I listened to setting the tone, and eventually I started calling from the table, calling my direct upline and listening and explaining how I'm like, I have this client. This is their age. This is their medications. Which carrier is going to work best for them to get them approved for a good plan with benefits? This plan or that plan. And that's how you learn. And that's how you learn the underwriting. We have so many new individuals. Oh my God, I need to know the products. I'm like, relax. We have almost 20 companies.
You're going to use 3.
Right. And we have about 150 different products.
Right. Good luck.
You want to sit through the next 2 months not getting paid and learn all of it, be my guest, but just trust us. Right. Trust the system that's in place.
Yeah, and I think another thing is, again, don't get me wrong. Yeah, you do need to learn the products with the process, but it's like when I was new, I didn't know the products. I called my upline, but when I didn't know, think about how much time we spend in the car driving to appointments, which obviously
tons.
We talked on the podcast earlier. Hire from day one. Use that time to hire. But if you're brand freaking new, call the carrier. These are billion-dollar companies. They have thousands of people at the company. Hey, I had a question about the HMS product. Can you, they'll literally spend 20, 30 minutes on the phone with you. Not to be disrespectful, but your upline might not be able to spend 30 minutes on the phone with you.
Not at all.
It's a quick phone call, 3-5 minute. Hey, what do they got? How old are they? What are they looking to do? Okay, they take these medications. And all our agents know, you have to call, because we just can't. There's just too many people. So if you're trying to figure out the products, call the company, call the carrier, go, hey, we're going to train you on product. There's product training podcasts, but the insurance companies do webinars. They have brochures and stuff like that on the website. You just have to go and find it.
You just have to go get it.
You got to go get it.
The thing about this business and with this company, Family First Life, is we have all the resources.
Right.
A lot of individuals just don't want to find it, but it's there. How many times do you get an email from not just your corporate office, but your agency? You say, hey, we got these events coming up. This is coming up. Americo's great. They even send you seminars that they're covering on a product line. Why not put it in your schedule?
Yeah.
You have to, in this business, you have to be willing to understand why it's so important to prioritize your time with everything.
100%.
Schedule matters. Schedule and accountability to that schedule really matters. If you're driving to an appointment, you're brand new, your car needs to be your university. Chris Foto said it the best. That's your university. You have to be willing to plug in instead of jamming out to your favorite rock song or trying to, have endless conversations with somebody about, a football game. Those things are not income producing.
Right.
Especially at brand new agents. Now, for someone like us, we're seasoned, we know a lot of different resources or whatever, but I still listen to some podcasts on the way.
100%.
Why not?
Why not? It's free. I mean, there's something I can learn from somebody.
There's one nugget point you can take away from some individual. I've picked up quite a bit of nugget points from new agents that I didn't. I'm like, that's genius.
Oh, yeah.
I'm using that. And that's how you get better. I hated the phones. I hated, doing this. But one thing I was always good at is face-to-face interaction because I had that throughout all of my careers in the field. Right. Whether it was, customer service associate, working in the bank, whatever.
Let's talk about that. That's huge because I think a lot of people, including myself, I came from the restaurant industry. Mm-hmm. I bussed tables.
Same.
Waited on people, yada, 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 did the whole nine. But I was also in car sales for a little while. And it taught me the ropes of, quote unquote sales, if you would.
Sure.
But it was a little different aspect. They were coming to me, I'm going to these people. Mm-hmm. So it kind of messed me up in the head. I was like, so I was trained that the customer's always right. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? The customer's always right. You don't back talk, which we're not here to back talk, but it's like, you got to be willing when the client thinks they're right. It's like, now don't get me wrong. Situation with you, the client wanted a 10-year term. Like if the guy wants term, I'm going to give him term. It is what it is. But we're there to educate. We're there to, inform. And I think a lot of people are scared to stand up for people. You know what I mean? Inside the sales, like, oh, I don't want to lose the appointment, which again goes back to running enough appointments. You got to be direct.
Exactly.
But I think that's huge. You coming from customer service, did you struggle with that a little bit in the beginning? Like, were you kind of scared to?
I never had issues. No. Put me in front of anybody. If we're talking about a specific thing that they wanted,
right,
I'll talk about it all day. I have no problem doing it. I have no problem building value around that.
Did you have an issue of being like too nice, being customer service oriented?
I was being too nice in the very beginning. I would, build a friend, talk about different things, and then I would leave one of my first appointments, and I'm like, I didn't close them, so I'd call my hiring manager, and I'm like, hey, I just left my first appointment. He goes, how'd it go? Well, they were really nice. Did you close them? I was like, no, but they were really nice.
Yeah, they're great. I'm going back next week.
Yeah, and you never go back.
Yeah.
He goes, why didn't you call me from the table?
Right.
And it made me realize that third-party validation is a huge thing. We're just edifying what you're trying to do with them at the table, what they requested. So there's nothing wrong with calling your hiring manager and say, hey, I'm sitting here with Bob. He's 65. He's on high blood pressure medication. He's looking for $20,000 burial coverage. Which plan and carrier would approve him with ease to make sure he has immediate coverage day one? Great. American Eagle Premier. Now you just own a product.
Yeah.
Based off their medication.
Right.
So I don't need you to call me again for high blood pressure because now you know what high blood pressure, what carrier takes high blood pressure. There's no need to call me for simple things. And with so many different agencies and groups out there now, there's cheat sheets created by every single one of them for every single medical case. Well, if they had a heart attack within 12 months, which carrier? AIG. Outside of 12 months, Americo. It's all there. So we have a lot of different resources at our disposal. Only time I want you to call me from the table, Jared, is if it's a really complicated case and 2-3 carriers denied them. What do we need to do next to help them out?
Right.
That's more complex that we need to help out, work together. But something simple, we have resources.
Right.
So utilize them to the maximum advantage. But the biggest thing that I had to learn in the struggle side of things was, cutting out the nice, being too nice. And
do you think that was when it came down to like, hey, Dean, you've been great. We need to think about it?
100%.
What did it used to look like and what does it look like now?
I'm like, okay, what did you need to think about? Is it the price? Is it the plan? Or is it me? If it's me, I love feedback. Please tell me. No, it's not you.
It's never you.
And I learned anytime they said I need to think about it, they don't want to spend the money.
Yep.
That's all it is.
Oh, yeah. 99.9%.
It's just a smoke screen.
Yep.
They don't want to spend any money because to them, they feel like it's useless. That just means you, as the agent, did not build enough value.
Correct.
You need to build emotion at the table. Emotions drive the sale.
How do you do that? And I know everyone does it a little different. They ask questions differently. Me personally, I'm more of an emotional because we're selling a non-tangible product. Like I've had old ladies cry at the table, and it is emotional. I mean, I've had some clients almost make me tear up. The stories they've told, and it's like, oh my God. But me, I'm there not to mess with people or whatever, but I'm very like when someone tells me their husband died, right? I'm like, oh my God, I'm sorry to hear that, and I am, but I'm like, what was that like?
Yeah.
No insurance. How long were y'all together? Like I start poking, prodding, because they're going to tell you why it's so important. So how do you do that? Are you very emotional? What kind of questions do you ask to get them moving?
It's funny. I had a client just like that, what you just described. Told me, it was a lady. I asked her, what was the reason? Well, my husband, he passed. We didn't have anything on him. And she was getting deep. Like she was tearing up. And I asked, who's going to be the person that's going to pick up the pieces when you die? My daughter. Okay. Does your daughter have 15, 20,000 sitting in her bank account now that she can comfortably not regret taking out if you die to pay for your burial? No, she doesn't. And I looked at options. She kicked me out of the house after I showed her the prices. After all that.
Wow.
I was very, very shocked.
That's crazy. That's actually happened. That happened to me 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Same exact scenario. Lady was like, my husband, dude, crazy.
Yeah.
My husband died. I had to take in foster kid, all this crazy stuff.
You sure it wasn't my client?
It might have been, dude. It might have been. And I'm like, and in my head, I'm like, oh, it's a home run.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but you and I both, Hall of Fame producer, we let our guard down. There might be one question we don't ask and slip through.
Either that or it just made me realize she just did not want to pay for it.
Yeah.
And she did not care who was going to pay for it.
And there's nothing you can do.
No, that's one of those things, like the last 25%, that's it. I'm done with you.
Yeah.
But what I do specifically, I build value around the important things. For example, if I have a husband and a wife, and it's a mortgage protection client, for example, I just had this scenario earlier this week. They were both in their mid-60s. Decent health, not the best, but decent health. And of course, paying for covering the entire 200-some thousand mortgage was way high. And I'm very honest, Jared. I like to tell them like it is. Bob, you're 65. You're not 35. You do realize covering your whole mortgage is going to cost a lot of money.
Right.
Absolutely. If I showed you something that's going to help protect your mortgage equity and protect your payments for Margaret here, it's going to make a lot more financial sense to you, and you're going to keep it. And I build value around that. And I ask him, now, you just purchased this house. Is this your forever home? Or more so, we'll see what happens temporary basis. Mm-hmm. It's our forever home. I'll figure, because you're 65, you wanted to move, you bought a house. Congratulations on the purchase. Margaret, I cut him off. I talked to the wife. Why? Women are more emotional about death than men are. Margaret, God forbid Bob doesn't come home tomorrow. Do you see yourself staying in this house by yourself? And I listen. No. Okay, great. So for you, it would never make any sense to pay out high amount of dollars to cover the full mortgage at your age. What I will do and show you is provide a balance between the two, where you'll still be able to stay here for a short period of time until you figure things out financially. I call that the life insurance gap insurance plan, okay? Financial time. It buys you financial time. What does your income look like, Bob? $4,000. Margaret, what is yours? $2,000. Either of you are Social Security or still drawing income. We're still working. Okay, great. Out of the two, do you know who's going to have the largest Social Security? Bob is. Okay. Margaret, at some point in time, one of y'all's Social Security is going to be gone. We just don't know when. Do you understand how survivorship benefits work with Social Security? No. Whoever has the larger of the two stays, no matter who dies first. Unfortunately, it's that way. It's always been that way. We can't control that. So there's going to be an income loss based off your Social Security. Now, God forbid something happens tomorrow. Bob, you die. Margaret, you now take a $5,000 loss as a monthly income. You have $2,000. Your mortgage is $2,200. You're already in a negative. Bob, do you see why you need to protect yourself? And I haven't even dug deep yet. How much is your car payment? $500. How much is your regular utilities? Another $400. How much do you spend on groceries? Another $300. How much on gas? How much on entertainment? How much do you save? I will go so deep to the point where she's going to look and be like, you better get this.
So you get their budget.
Everything. You have to.
Love it.
Because what value are you presenting? They just think it's an insurance cost. No, that cost needs to have a meaning behind it.
It's covering all of your expenses.
Everything.
It's crazy because you made a good, and if for those of you that are watching, like this is $1 Million podcast. This is really good, by the way. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm stealing stuff over here.
Please do. That's what it's here for.
As I'm doing it. So, like what you said was, and because I love it. When you're sitting there talking to the females are typically the ones, not all of them.
Not all of them, but most are.
But they'll be quiet and they'll like look to the husband.
Of course.
And I love it because I tell them, hey, can I talk to you guys like my own family?
Yeah.
I had to do that early on because I was young. So I would be like mom and dad. It worked for me. If you're young, use it. If you're Dean's age, just say brother, sister, whatever. It worked for me because you would see them relax. But it also gives you the right to say whatever you need to in the home. Because then I look at them, I go, okay, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be upfront with you. You may not want to hear what I say, but I'm going to tell you the truth. Is that okay? And you just see people just go, okay, he's going to tell me the truth. Now, they might not like it. And that gives you the right to when they do say something stupid, you go, Bob, dude, come on, that's stupid. Stop. But what's crazy is whenever you're talking to the wife, a lot of them, they'll look at the husband and they'll go, and the husband's like, you're dead.
Exactly.
You're dead. And like you can see that they're like, and I'm like, you're dead, dude. And it's not funny because like I used to laugh, like I'd be like, and then they laugh, I'd laugh, and it would kill it. Now I'm like, dude, you're dead. And they're like, and I'm like, that's not funny. You're dead. You can't talk. Mary, he's gone. What do you do? And they can't answer you.
They don't know what to answer because they haven't gone through that emotion yet.
They don't have a plan.
They don't have a plan. And you have to build a lot of good sentimental value at the table. You can't just say, oh, here's a plan A, plan B, plan C, pick one. Right. It doesn't mean anything. That's you being a salesperson. Right. That's you literally trying to pick up, do I want that Toyota with the base model, premium or supremium, whatever you want to call it. No, you have to build value.
What do you say? So, because obviously, as you get better inside the home, you start, like as an experienced producer, you start overcoming objections before you even get them.
Of course.
What are some things, as we're coming up on time, what are some things you say inside the home that you can see coming from like a mile away? Because like I get, like you can just read people. Like you can almost meet someone for 10 seconds and you're like, he's going to tell me he's going to think about it. Or going to try to tell me certain things. What are some things you say, like in a mortgage appointment or instant internet lead or whatever, to try to overcome some objections before you get them?
So this comes to setting the tone on the trial close in the very beginning. Yeah. Now, Bob, Margaret, I'm going to find you something today that's going to make financial sense. I don't say that's going to fit within your budget. I'm going to say that makes financial sense. People respect that a lot more. Because now they're not thinking about a price in their head. It needs to make financial sense to them. This financial sense plan, the solution is going to be so good for your budget that if the refrigerator breaks tomorrow, you don't have to cancel this policy to pay for repairs. Does that make sense? Yes, it does. Okay. Here's what we got. I'm going to ask you, go through the financial inventory sheet and then go through the scenario. Ask them how it's going to affect their life. And then what I will do is write down the options. And I will calculate, for example, for mortgage protection plan, if we're protecting a $200,000 mortgage at $100,000, how much time is it going to buy the wife financially, the bigger picture? So when you're setting the tone and allowing yourself, okay, great, I'm not taking food off your table today. I'm not here to do that. I'm it's going to make financial sense to you. It eliminates a lot of the things that you know are going to come your way. I know for a fact that an older client with a $200,000 mortgage is not going to get a $100 a month plan. I know that for a fact.
Right.
So I have to mentally prepare myself and provide value as I'm going along with it. So, for example, like if I have a client who can only afford a final expense $30,000 or $300,000 mortgage, well, how much time is it going to buy the wife with it? Or do we need to stack multiple whole life policies together so that she has enough time to dig herself out of a financial hole?
Do you go over, and this is kind of my last question here, do you, when you're sitting with a client, because this is something I did not do in the beginning. I definitely shot myself in the foot with it. Talking about building value. But now we have Americo, the cashback products for some of our younger clients that are, 30, 40, you can get them up to 50 if they don't smoke and they're good health, no heart attacks, no cancer, stuff like that. It comes with all living benefits. Even some of our final expense plans have living benefits, which is awesome. But like in the beginning, I would show pricing. I would show it with a client and I'd be like, yeah, you're getting 20,000, it's this much. Now I go, like if it's Eagle Premier, I go, hey, you're getting 60,000 common carrier. You're getting 40,000 accidental. You're getting 20,000 natural. You're also getting a terminal illness rider. And like I have the brochure out going through it with them. And I talk about those bigger numbers. Do you talk about all the benefits before?
Yes.
Yeah.
I focus primarily on what the plan was going to do for them. If they're very healthy and they're within a qualifying age range. Perfect, Bob. Now you guys are my primary candidate for this carrier right here. The reason I choose Americo is for several reasons. Number one, they're a privately owned company. Number two, they're state regulated. Number three, they've been in business since 1906, a long time, and they're getting better and better. Number four, you don't need to do a medical exam with them. That's what I'm here for. We'll find out something. So, but before I dig into the cost for you or how much this is going to look per month, I want to show you what's really, really important that the cost doesn't even matter what's coming to you. In the event of a cancer, stroke, a heart attack, Bob, you have the ability to file a claim if it's going to affect your living situation moving forward, and they're going to advance you your entire death benefit early. Because oftentimes, 2 out of 3 times before a person passes away, they suffer either a cancer, a stroke, heart attack, or major illness. If this happens to you, God forbid, tomorrow, do you have $200,000 that you're going to be able to pull out comfortably to pay for everything? Most people don't.
Right.
But here you have that advantage. It's a great advantage that you have. In the event of an accidental death, they're going to pay 50% more of what the base death benefit is. So if you have a $200,000 plan, they're going to pay another $100,000 on top of that. That's a $300,000 payout to your wife. And by the way, you're only 45. How would you like to know if you can pay your house off early without ever making a extra payment to your mortgage? Wait, what? Cash back. Now I talk about the cash back. And how I do that is I ask them, have you made plans on paying this house off early? Well, we're planning on it. How many years? 10 years. Really? 10 years? Okay. What's your interest rate? 2.6%. I will go onto bankrate.com and I'll pull up the amortization calculator. It's very detailed compared to the calculator on your phone. So you can plug everything in detail. I'll put their mortgage, how many years it's on, and their interest rate. And I hit calculate. And I will scroll down 20 years in time and see what their payoff is. And I'll look at it and I'll say, okay, well, your payoff is whatever, X amount of dollars. If I divide that by 20 divided by 12, you need to pay an extra $1,500 every month to pay your house off 10 years early. Can you afford that every month? Ooh, no, that's too much. Exactly. You can knock it down by 5 years comfortably without ever giving them up a single penny of your hard-earned money. And here's why. The first 15 years of your mortgage is 95% interest that you pay in every single month.
Yep.
It never makes sense if you die in this critical time period to pay off the mortgage. Why? Because a lot of it's going to be eaten up by interest. Only very little goes to principal. But if you die in the second half, now more goes towards your principal. So you do realize you don't need to cover your entire mortgage right away. You just need to cover the last 15 years where it's going to be comfortably paid off. What does that look like? Well, it's only $150,000 or $100,000 at this point, whatever it is. So why don't we get you $100,000 to $150,000 comfortably? Here she's going to have 8 years worth of financial time. Here she can pay the house off. And by the way, in 20 years, you get all your money back. That's value. And when you draw it out, my papers look like chicken scratch everywhere. Oh, yeah. They realize, like, wow, okay, let's do that.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
How can they say no?
You can't.
Yeah.
That's the financial sense that I talked about.
And be clear, while we wrap up, be clear. You've probably done that 1,000 times, 2,000 times, and been told no probably half of them. Mm-hmm. It's not like you just walked in and started pulling out a mortgage. And that's the thing agents got to get. It's like it takes freaking practice.
It does.
Call your upline, watch these videos. You've got to you're not just going to get it, because I was there too. Mm-hmm. I'm very numbers driven, and sometimes I can probably confuse clients. They don't get it. They're just like, just tell me how much it is. I need it. Mm-hmm. But that's great. I thought I was the only one that did that. That's good.
No, I've been doing it for a very long time, and
it helps.
It helps a lot. And when you draw it out, people are visual.
Yeah.
People want to see visualization. Value is always going to exceed the price no matter what. And then you just find something that makes sense for them.
Yeah. 100%.
You already explained the value and what it offers. If they tell you, well, I'm not interested, why not? Are you interested because it's too expensive? Or not enough coverage, or what? You do realize you don't need the full amount on your mortgage, because she already says she's not going to stay in this house. So why cover it? She's going to sell it, pull the equity part ways, keep the rest of the insurance money, and keep the equity. Now you're protecting your entire investment. So why would you want to pay so many dollars to pay your house off immediately?
Right.
You're dead. Doesn't matter. No offense. You'll be gone. But if you live, you get it all back. No. Here, you won't get anything back. And let's calculate how much money you're going to be throwing away down the road. And I'll do it for them. I'll show them.
Right.
You have to be transparent.
100%. Yeah. No, I love it, dude. I really appreciate you getting on, man. This is the other podcast we did was pretty good, but this one's pretty good. I'm probably gonna go back and watch this one myself. Guys, we hope this helps. If you're new, you guys definitely need to be watching this. That's $1 million knowledge right there. I'm just gonna give you another round of applause for that.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
That was really good. Man, I really, really do appreciate you coming in. I know you don't live, 10 minutes down the road.
That's okay.
And I know people get value out of these. Especially I'm thinking back to a brand new agent and watching this and just go, wow. Mm-hmm. So thank you, dude.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Take care.